Beloved friends, today you stand at the threshold of power. The very doubts that have weighed upon your mind are not enemies but signals. Signals that something far greater is waiting to be expressed through you. Doubt is only the shadow cast by your own brilliance. When you recognize that truth, the shadow dissolves, and action flows like a mighty river. Life responds not to hesitation but to conviction. Every time you affirm your inner authority, every time you declare, I know, I trust, I act, the invisible forces of good rush forward to support you. There is an unseen law of success that is always working, always ready to turn your inspired thoughts into living reality. It is not your task to struggle, it is your task to align with that law. The first key is your word. Your word is your wand. Your declaration becomes your direction. When you speak with certainty, the cells of your body, the currents of your mind, and the circumstances of your life rearrange themselves to match your command. Speak, therefore, with clarity. Say, I release all doubt. I am the embodiment of courage and divine action. Feel that statement. Live it. Act upon it. The second key is your vision. Whatever picture you hold steadily before your inner eye will magnetize the steps and opportunities required to make it real. Doubt is nothing more than a blurred vision. When your mental picture is bright, unwavering, and saturated with faith, action becomes inevitable, natural, almost effortless. The third key is forgiveness of self and others. Doubt often creeps in because of hidden guilt, self-reproach, or resentment. These create barriers in the invisible realm. Release them. Bless every person, bless every experience, bless even the delays, for each is a stepping stone. As you forgive and bless, the channel of good opens wider and action flows. The fourth key is expectation. What you expect you attract. Expect success, expect doors to open. Expect your next step to appear. The universe delights in meeting your expectations. Walk as though your prayer has already been answered. Speak as though your dream has already been fulfilled. Act as though the victory is already yours. The fifth key is persistence. Not the persistence of struggle, but the persistence of faith. Stand firm in your knowing. Let every step you take be infused with the quiet confidence that comes from inner alignment. When you act with this kind of assurance, circumstances yield, obstacles dissolve, and what once seemed impossible becomes your normal experience. You are not a creature of chance. You are a creator of choice. You are the channel of a power that never fails. Doubt cannot stand in the presence of your divine certainty. Every time you affirm your truth, the ground beneath your feet becomes solid, the path before you becomes clear, and your action becomes unstoppable. Stand now in your own authority. Declare your freedom from hesitation. See yourself as already acting with courage and clarity. Speak your word, hold your vision. Forgive and bless, expect the best, persist with faith, and you will transform doubt into unstoppable action. Your word is the creative power that shapes your life, and every spoken thought sets unseen forces into motion. When you speak with certainty and conviction, you become the architect of your reality, molding substance into form with the energy of your declaration. Each word you utter is a seed, planted in the fertile soil of the invisible, destined to produce after its kind. Doubt and hesitation weaken the seed, but faith and clarity empower it to grow strong, swift, and sure. To transform doubt into unstoppable action, you must recognize the spiritual law that responds to your words and thoughts. For they are commands issued to the universe, and the universe obeys without resistance. The very cells of your body, the circumstances of your day, the opportunities waiting in the wings, all vibrate in accordance with your dominant word. When you say, I am powerful, every particle of your being begins to align with power. When you say, I am guided, life conspires to guide you. When you say, I am ready, the path opens and action flows naturally through you. Speaking with conviction requires awareness of your internal dialogue. Many people undermine their own success by speaking doubt into existence. They declare, I can't. I'm not sure. It's too hard. And the invisible law takes those words and produces exactly that experience. This is why the discipline of the word is sacred. It is not about mere positive thinking. It is about aligning your speech with divine truth, refusing to give voice to limitation. The word spoken in faith acts like a spiritual decree. It sends forth an energy that organizes people, conditions, and timing to manifest your highest good. As you practice speaking with certainty, you feel your own energy rising, your confidence expanding, and your mind quieting. Fear loses its grip because your word becomes a shield of light around you. Action no longer feels forced because your word has prepared the way. Your word also carries vibration, and vibration draws similar vibration. When you affirm, "I am confident," you begin to attract situations that require and reward confidence. When you affirm, "I am inspired," inspiration begins to flood your awareness. When you affirm, "I take decisive action," life places you in circumstances where decisive action brings success. Speaking with certainty does not mean ignoring reality. It means declaring the higher truth of what you are becoming, even before it is visible. You speak from the unseen to shape the seen. This is the same principle as planting a seed. You don't see the tree immediately, but you trust the process because the seed is there, and you have planted it. Every time you use your word, you plant another seed in the garden of your destiny. When you recognize the power of your word, you begin to choose it carefully. You stop making casual statements about your limitations. You become deliberate, intentional, and clear. This clarity itself dissolves doubt because your energy is no longer split between wanting and fearing, believing and doubting, hoping and despairing. The more you affirm what you choose to experience, the more your subconscious mind and your higher self align. This alignment generates momentum, and momentum creates action almost automatically. You no longer have to talk yourself into acting, because your speech has already infused you with courage and direction. Consider how often the people you admire speak with confidence. Their words are clear, their tone unwavering, their affirmations consistent. They know, consciously or unconsciously, that their words carry authority. You too have this authority. Every time you say, "I am," you invoke the creative power of life itself. Every time you say, "I will," you send a command to the invisible that rearranges your path to fulfill your declaration. Even small shifts in language can produce powerful results. Replacing "I can't" with "I can." Replacing "I'm not sure" with "I am certain." Replacing "It's too hard" with "I am equipped." These changes slowly reprogram your mind, strengthen your spirit, and dissolve the fog of indecision. Another dimension of speaking with certainty is feeling the energy of the word as you say it. Words without feeling are like seeds without water. They lie dormant. Words spoken with feeling are alive, they germinate instantly in the unseen realm. This is why chanting, prayer, affirmation, and declaration have been used across cultures to create transformation. The spoken word bypasses mere thinking and calls forth the deeper power of belief. As you speak, let your tone carry conviction, let your body posture reflect strength, let your breath anchor your statement. This full-bodied speaking sends a signal to your subconscious mind and to the universe that you mean what you say. You can also use your word to dissolve doubt directly. When doubt arises, don't fight it silently. Speak to it. Declare aloud, "Doubt has no power over me. I release fear and claim courage." When hesitation creeps in, say, "I act with clarity and confidence now." By confronting doubt with spoken truth, you prevent it from rooting in your consciousness. Over time, this practice rewires your response to challenge. Instead of shrinking back, you speak forward. Instead of retreating inward, you project outward. Your word becomes a sword that cuts through confusion and inertia. The power of your word extends beyond your own life. It affects how others see you, respond to you, and collaborate with you. When you speak with certainty, you inspire confidence in others. People trust those whose words carry weight. Opportunities gravitate to those who speak with authority. Resources flow to those who clearly declare their intentions. This is not manipulation, it is resonance. Your word resonates with the universal law of action and reaction, drawing to you what is aligned and repelling what is not. Your word is also a mirror of your faith. If your words are weak, it signals weak belief. If your words are strong, it signals strong belief. This is why affirmations are a practice of both expression and cultivation. By speaking bold words, you cultivate bold faith. By declaring certainty, you grow certainty. The practice itself transforms you. You don't wait until you feel confident to speak confidently. You speak confidently to become confident. This loop strengthens with each repetition until doubt no longer holds sway. Through your word you can script your future. Each day offers a blank page. When you wake, you can say, "This is a day of inspired action. This is a day of clear guidance. This is a day of powerful movement toward my highest goals." These declarations set the tone for your behavior and perception. They prime your mind to notice opportunities, energize your body to take steps, and align your circumstances to support progress. Over weeks and months, this habit builds a momentum that seems unstoppable, because it is rooted in law, not chance. To speak with certainty also means to refrain from speaking against yourself. Gossip, self-deprecation, or cynical remarks about your abilities plant weeds in the garden of your word. Each time you indulge in negative speech, you create more resistance in your own path. Self-discipline in speech is not repression, it is self-mastery. By choosing uplifting, affirming, and empowering language, you keep your inner and outer environment clear, which accelerates action and success. The energy of your word can be intensified by combining it with visualization and action. When you speak, also see yourself acting. When you affirm, also take a step in alignment. This synchronizes your inner and outer worlds. Speaking alone is powerful. Speaking plus seeing is stronger. Speaking plus seeing plus acting is unstoppable. Even small, symbolic actions amplify your declarations and prove to your subconscious mind that you are serious. This removes the gap between intention and movement, dissolving procrastination. Ultimately, your word is the key that turns doubt into unstoppable action. Each statement you make in faith chisels away at hesitation. Each declaration builds a bridge between the invisible and the visible. As you persist, your speech becomes a current of power carrying you forward. You realize that you are not at the mercy of moods or external circumstances. You are at the command of your own word. And when your word is sure, your steps are sure. When your word is bold, your life is bold. When your word is clear, your path is clear. Holding a clear, unwavering vision is the force that dissolves doubt and awakens action at its deepest level. Vision is the inner picture that precedes every outer manifestation, the blueprint the invisible uses to construct the visible. Without a definite vision, your mind becomes scattered and your energy divided. But with a vivid and steadfast picture in your consciousness, you draw into your orbit the people, resources, ideas, and circumstances that match the pattern you hold. This is not imagination as mere daydreaming. It is imagination as spiritual power, a living template of reality in its becoming. The clearer and steadier your vision, the less room there is for doubt to creep in. Because the mind cannot hold two opposing pictures with equal intensity. When you focus on one luminous image of your desired outcome, doubt dissolves like mist under sunlight, and your steps begin to align themselves naturally toward its fulfillment. A clear vision begins with knowing what you want, and knowing it in detail, color, and feeling. Many people are paralyzed not by inability but by vagueness. They think in terms of what they don't want, and so they create more of it. When you take time to clarify your desired outcome, writing it down, imagining it with all your senses, and holding it in the present tense, you activate the creative law of mind. The subconscious loves specificity. The universe responds to definiteness. This clarity acts like a magnet, pulling ideas from the unseen and opportunities from the seen, orchestrating events with an intelligence far greater than your conscious planning. When you see the picture vividly, the steps unfold naturally, sometimes even effortlessly, because your inner compass has been set. An unwavering vision means you hold your picture steady regardless of appearances. This is the true test of spiritual mastery. Anyone can visualize success when things look good, but the person of vision keeps the inner image intact, even when circumstances seem contrary. This does not mean ignoring reality, but knowing that reality is still fluid and responding to your dominant vision. Think of a captain steering a ship through fog. The captain does not doubt the destination simply because visibility is low. The map is clear, the compass steady, and thus the ship moves forward. Likewise, when you keep your inner picture unshaken, the external situation eventually reshapes itself to match the mold of your sustained vision. Your vision must be alive with feeling. A lifeless image in the mind does not stir the currents of creation. Feeling is the electricity that animates the blueprint. When you visualize, immerse yourself in the sensation of already having it, already living it, already being it. This feeling magnetizes your subconscious and communicates with the creative intelligence of the universe. It is not just the picture, but the vibration of belief surrounding the picture that does the work. As you hold the vision with emotional richness, your thoughts, words, and actions begin to align with it automatically, making inspired action feel natural and inevitable, rather than forced. One powerful way to strengthen your vision is to create a ritual of daily seeing. Each morning or evening, close your eyes and step into the mental movie of your fulfilled desire. See it as clearly as you can. Hear the sounds, smell the air, feel the textures. This repeated exercise imprints the pattern deeply, training your subconscious to expect it. Over time, your nervous system adapts to this image, as if it were already true. When you go out into your day, your choices, responses, and instincts subtly shift to match the picture you have rehearsed. This is how athletes prime their performance, how artists bring forth masterpieces, how leaders transform ideas into reality. The steady mental rehearsal erases hesitation and programs your system for execution. Another dimension of unwavering vision is protecting it from doubt and distraction. Just as a seedling needs protection from harsh winds and weeds, your vision needs protection from contradictory thoughts, negative environments, and discouraging influences. This is not about fear, it is about stewardship. You choose carefully what you read, watch, and listen to. You surround yourself with affirming people and environments. You speak of your vision as if it is certain, never belittling it with jokes or skepticism. Every time you defend your inner picture, you strengthen it. And as it strengthens, its gravitational pull grows stronger, drawing the actions and opportunities that fulfill it. Clarity of vision also simplifies your decision-making. When you know where you are going, choices become obvious. You don't waste energy on distractions because you measure each option against your vision. Does this move me closer or farther? Does this resonate or conflict? This clarity dissolves the fog of indecision and fuels momentum. Even when you take a step that seems small, you know it is aligned with your larger picture. And this knowledge gives each action significance. This sense of purpose fuels persistence, which is another antidote to doubt. A person with a vision will endure temporary setbacks, because the inner picture is stronger than the outer obstacle. You can amplify your vision by writing it in present tense, speaking it aloud, drawing it, or creating a symbolic representation of it. Each physical act anchors the invisible pattern into the material world. When you look at your written statement, your picture board, or your symbolic object, you remind your mind and spirit of your destination. This constant reinforcement builds a groove in consciousness, like a riverbed channeling water, guiding your energy and attention where you intend it to flow. Over weeks and months, this groove deepens until your thoughts naturally return to your vision without effort. Holding a clear, unwavering vision also changes your self-image, and self-image dictates behavior. As you picture yourself already living your desired reality, you start to identify with that version of yourself. You think as they would think, feel as they would feel, choose as they would choose. This identity shift dissolves resistance, because action now flows from who you believe yourself to be. Instead of trying to push yourself to act differently, you simply express the self you have been envisioning. This is why the inner picture is so vital. It is not only about the outcome, but about the identity that aligns with that outcome. Doubt often arises from uncertainty about the path ahead, but when your vision is strong, you do not need to know every step. You trust that the next step will appear as you move forward. The vision acts as a lighthouse guiding you across the waters. Even if you cannot see the entire journey, you can see the next glow of light, and you move toward it. This movement, even if small, generates momentum, and momentum dispels fear. In this way, vision translates directly into action, because you are no longer frozen by not knowing. You know enough to proceed, and proceeding reveals more. A clear, unwavering vision also communicates to others. When people sense your certainty, they are more willing to support, collaborate, or invest. Your conviction inspires confidence. Your steadiness attracts respect. Opportunities find their way to someone who radiates clear direction. This external response further accelerates your progress and reinforces your inner faith. What began as an internal picture becomes an external magnet. It is also important to renew your vision periodically, not by changing it, but by refreshing your emotional connection to it. Life can dull your enthusiasm if you let routines overtake imagination. Take time to revisit your why, to reignite the excitement of your picture, to deepen your gratitude for what is already unfolding. Gratitude itself strengthens your vision, because it places you in a state of receiving and trust. The more you appreciate the signs of progress, the more progress flows to you. This upward spiral turns doubt into curiosity, hesitation into eagerness, and fear into creative anticipation. When you hold a vision this way, unwavering and vivid, the energy of action rises naturally. Ideas for steps appear. Invitations arrive. People cross your path at just the right moment. Synchronicities multiply. You find yourself taking action without inner struggle, because the action feels inevitable. The next logical expression of your picture. You are not pushing, you are being pulled by your own vision. This pull is stronger than any fleeting doubt, and in time, the outer world reshapes to mirror the image you have steadfastly held within. Releasing guilt and resentment through forgiveness is a profound spiritual practice that opens the flow of good and clears the path for action. Many people underestimate how much emotional residue weighs them down. Hidden guilt creates hesitation. Unresolved resentment breeds resistance. Both act like invisible anchors tied to your energy, slowing movement and clouding clarity. Forgiveness is not just a moral duty, but a practical method for transforming your inner state, so that life can move freely through you. When you release the heaviness of guilt, you reclaim your sense of worthiness. When you release the chains of resentment, you free the energy locked in the past and redirect it toward present creation. In this way, forgiveness becomes a key to dissolving doubt and unlocking unstoppable action, because it removes the inner conflicts that sabotage progress. Forgiveness begins with the recognition that holding on to guilt or resentment does not serve you. Guilt is often the belief that you must punish yourself for mistakes. Resentment is the belief that someone else must be punished for theirs. Both keep you mentally tethered to the very circumstances you wish to escape. The energy that could go into inspired action gets drained into replaying past wrongs, rehearsing old stories, or maintaining walls of self-protection. When you forgive, you break that cycle. You reclaim your focus, you redirect your power. Your mind becomes clearer, your heart lighter, and your actions more decisive because you are no longer split between past and present. One of the most powerful aspects of forgiveness is self-forgiveness. Many people delay action because they secretly believe they are unworthy of success or still paying for some past choice. This subconscious self-punishment can sabotage opportunities, create self-sabotage behaviors, and fill the mind with hesitation. To forgive yourself is to affirm your inherent innocence beyond mistakes, to see yourself as learning and evolving rather than permanently flawed. When you say, "I forgive myself completely," you release the inner critic and invite the inner guide. This shift restores self-trust, and self-trust naturally leads to confident action. You begin to move forward because you no longer believe you must atone before you can receive. You act boldly because you accept your worthiness to act. Forgiveness of others is equally liberating. Resentment keeps you entangled in someone else's energy. It keeps you reacting instead of creating. Every time you rehearse how someone wronged you, you reinforce the identity of a victim rather than a creator. Forgiving them does not condone their behavior. It liberates you from their influence. You reclaim the energy you invested in anger and redirect it toward your own life. When you say, "I release them and set them free," you also set yourself free. Your nervous system calms, your perspective expands. Action becomes easier because you are no longer weighed down by emotional debt. In this lighter state, opportunities appear more readily, intuition flows more clearly, and courage rises more naturally. Forgiveness also clears the mental field where new ideas take root. Just as a garden overrun with weeds cannot nurture fresh seedlings, a mind overrun with grievances cannot nurture fresh inspiration. When you forgive, you clear the soil. New concepts, solutions, and creative impulses sprout. These in turn lead to new actions. Many breakthroughs come not from forcing more effort, but from releasing old burdens. The moment you let go of a long-held resentment, you feel a surge of vitality and clarity. This surge propels you forward, often in ways that surprise you. People who once resisted you may shift. Opportunities you thought were lost may reappear. Even your own body responds, relaxing and energizing simultaneously. Another dimension of forgiveness is understanding the law of cause and effect. When you hold anger or guilt, you vibrate at a frequency that attracts more reasons to feel angry or guilty. When you release them, you shift your frequency and attract more reasons to feel peaceful and empowered. This shift in vibration is not abstract. It manifests as tangible changes in how people respond to you, how events unfold, and how your own instincts guide you. Forgiveness thus becomes a practical tool for changing your reality. It is not just a noble idea but a dynamic force for transformation. Forgiveness can be cultivated through specific practices. You might write a letter of release that you never send, pouring out your feelings, and then affirming freedom. You might sit quietly, visualize the person or situation, and declare, "I release you, I bless you, I set you free." You might use affirmations like, "I forgive and am forgiven," or "I let go of the past with love." These practices are not about pretending nothing happened, but about changing your relationship to what happened. As you repeat them, your nervous system rewires, your subconscious accepts the new pattern, and you feel a sense of spaciousness inside where tightness once lived. This spaciousness invites action because action requires space to move. An overlooked part of forgiveness is gratitude. When you can reach a point of gratitude for the lessons learned from painful experiences, you complete the cycle of healing. Gratitude transforms even the memory of hardship into fuel for growth. This does not happen overnight, but as you forgive and reflect, you start to see how even difficult situations shaped your character, sharpened your discernment, or led you to your current path. Gratitude in this sense is not approval but recognition. It is the alchemy that turns lead into gold, turning old wounds into wisdom. Acting from this wisdom feels empowered rather than reactive, creative rather than defensive. Forgiveness also strengthens your connection to your intuitive self. When you are caught up in blame or self-recrimination, your inner guidance is muffled by emotional noise. When you forgive, you quiet the noise and can hear the subtle signals of your intuition. This guidance shows you the next step, nudges you toward opportunities, and protects you from unnecessary detours. With clearer intuition, your actions become more timely, more inspired, and more effective. Doubt fades because you sense you are supported by something greater than your conscious planning. Releasing guilt and resentment opens the door to a higher self concept. You stop seeing yourself as someone who is wronged or who wrongs and start seeing yourself as someone who creates. This identity shift naturally changes how you behave. You stand taller, speak more confidently, and approach challenges with resilience. People notice the difference and respond with more respect and openness. This positive feedback reinforces your new identity, creating a virtuous cycle of forgiveness, confidence, and action. As you practice forgiveness regularly, it becomes easier. You develop an emotional agility that prevents grudges from forming in the first place. You learn to address small irritations before they grow into major resentments. You catch yourself slipping into guilt and gently correct course. This ongoing practice keeps your energy flowing, your mind clear, and your heart open. In this state, taking action is no longer a struggle because you are not dragging the past with you into each moment. You move lightly, decisively, and with presence. Forgiveness can even transform your physical energy. Studies and lived experience show that letting go of anger and guilt reduces stress, improves health, and increases vitality. This renewed vitality is fuel for action. When your body feels lighter and more energized, you naturally engage more fully with your goals. You are less prone to burnout because you are not burning energy on resentment. You are more creative because your mind is not cluttered with old narratives. This physical aspect is often overlooked, but crucial to understand how forgiveness translates into unstoppable action. The practice of releasing guilt and resentment also aligns you with the principle of flow. Life is constantly moving, evolving, expanding. When you cling to old injuries or regrets, you step out of that flow and create stagnation. Forgiveness puts you back into the current. Once in the current, you find that movement happens almost automatically. Ideas arise, connections happen, doors open, and you step through them with ease. What felt like pushing uphill turns into being carried downstream by a benevolent force. This does not mean passivity, but rather harmonizing your action with the natural flow of life. Ultimately, releasing guilt and resentment through forgiveness is an act of self-liberation. It is you saying to yourself, I will not be bound by the past. I will not let yesterday's pain dictate today's choices. I am free, I am worthy, I am moving forward. This declaration, repeated and embodied, becomes a powerful catalyst for action. It removes the invisible brakes on your progress. It dissolves the inner conflicts that cause procrastination. It transforms your energy from defensive to creative. And in this transformed state, doubt loses its foothold, because you are no longer split between punishment and permission, between grievance and gratitude. You are whole, and from wholeness, action flows. Expecting success and acting as though your dream is already fulfilled is one of the most transformative mental states you can cultivate, because expectation is a magnetic force that shapes your reality from the inside out. Every thought you hold carries a frequency, and expectation is the frequency of inevitability. When you expect good, you draw good. When you expect success, you prepare yourself internally to recognize opportunities, to seize them with confidence, and to follow through with decisive action. This is not wishful thinking or blind optimism. It is a deliberate spiritual stance of claiming the unseen as already yours, so your mind and body behave in accordance with that claim. Doubt weakens the signal, but unwavering expectation amplifies it. Acting as though your dream is already fulfilled does not mean pretending or forcing. It means embodying the feeling, the posture, the language, and the habits of the person who already has what they desire, thereby bridging the gap between vision and reality. Expectation begins with belief. You cannot expect something you do not on some level believe is possible. This is why strengthening your belief is the first step. As you study, affirm, and visualize, your belief grows. Once belief reaches a certain threshold, expectation naturally follows. Belief says, it could happen. Expectation says, it will happen. This shift in tone changes everything because it moves you from hoping to knowing. Knowing eliminates much of the hesitation that feeds doubt, because your subconscious begins to operate under a new assumption. Instead of bracing for disappointment, you prepare for manifestation. This preparation shows up as more organized action, clearer thinking, and a heightened sensitivity to synchronicities that point the way forward. Acting as though your dream is already fulfilled also reprograms your identity. The subconscious mind does not distinguish between vividly imagined experiences and physical ones. When you consistently live from the state of the fulfilled desire, speaking, thinking, dressing, and moving as the person you intend to be, you impress that identity into your subconscious. The subconscious then begins to direct your behavior to match, making action flow naturally rather than feeling like an uphill struggle. This is why successful athletes mentally rehearse their victories, why performers imagine standing ovations, and why leaders envision their future organizations thriving. By embodying success internally, they remove the resistance of unfamiliarity and make extraordinary performance their default mode. Expectation also alters your nervous system. When you expect success, your brain releases chemicals associated with anticipation, motivation, and confidence. Your body adopts a more open posture, your voice carries more authority, and your decisions become more decisive. People respond to this shift. They see you as someone with momentum, someone who believes in their own mission, and they are more inclined to support, invest, or collaborate. This external feedback then reinforces your expectation, creating a virtuous cycle that accelerates manifestation. The key is to hold the expectation steady even before the external signs appear, because your inner state is what ultimately brings those signs forth. One practical way to cultivate expectation is to start and end each day affirming your desired reality as present fact. In the morning, you might declare, "Today I am guided to the right actions. Today my dream unfolds before me." Today I receive evidence of my success. At night, you might review your day through the lens of gratitude and expectation, seeing every event as part of the unfolding fulfillment. This practice trains your subconscious to look for confirmations of your belief and to filter out distractions. Over time, your mind becomes a magnet for opportunities that match your expectation, and action becomes automatic because you are already oriented toward fulfillment. Acting as though your dream is already fulfilled also means treating current conditions as fertile ground rather than obstacles. You behave as the person who has already succeeded would behave, regardless of appearances. If your desired future self would handle setbacks with calm and creativity, you do so now. If they would invest in learning, you do so now. If they would surround themselves with certain influences, you do so now. Each action, no matter how small, becomes a vote for your new identity. This consistency signals to your subconscious and to the universe that you are serious about your claim, and the unseen responds by aligning circumstances accordingly. Expectation transforms how you interpret setbacks. Without expectation, a setback looks like proof of failure. With expectation, a setback looks like temporary feedback guiding you toward a better route. This shift prevents discouragement and fuels persistence. You continue acting because you know the outcome is certain. It is only a matter of timing and alignment. This mental posture keeps your energy steady, preventing the boom and bust cycles that often derail progress. It also makes you more creative in solving problems because your mind stays open and resourceful, rather than shutting down in despair. Another aspect of expectation is maintaining a state of readiness. When you expect something to arrive, you prepare space for it. You clear your schedule, you gather resources, you learn skills, you build structures. This preparation is itself an action that accelerates manifestation because it creates a vacuum for the desired reality to fill. It signals to your subconscious that you are serious, and it signals to life that you are ready. Opportunities often bypass those who are unprepared, even when they say they want something. Expectation ensures you are both willing and able to receive when the time comes. Expectation also strengthens your intuitive faculties. When you anticipate success, your mind becomes attuned to subtle cues and opportunities that others miss. It's as though your inner radar becomes sharper. You notice chance conversations, chance meetings, or small signs pointing you to the next step. Acting on these intuitive nudges feels natural, because you already expect things to work out. This alignment of intuition and expectation creates a powerful flow state in which you seem to be in the right place at the right time repeatedly. In this state, action feels guided rather than forced, and outcomes seem to exceed your personal effort, because they are supported by a larger intelligence. Living from expectation also elevates your emotional baseline. Instead of anxiety, you feel eagerness. Instead of dread, you feel curiosity. Instead of desperation, you feel confidence. This emotional elevation feeds back into your physiology and your behavior. You take more initiative, speak more boldly, and recover faster from setbacks. People perceive this as charisma or leadership, but at its core it is simply the embodiment of expectation. This inner glow draws allies and dissolves resistance, making your actions more impactful and your results more far-reaching. You can deepen expectation by celebrating small evidences of progress as though they were full manifestations. When you receive even a small sign of movement toward your dream, treat it as confirmation of the whole. This strengthens your belief and your emotional connection to the end state, which in turn accelerates the unfolding. The more you celebrate, the more reasons you attract to celebrate. This upward spiral carries you forward with less effort, because your emotional momentum supports your action, rather than undermining it with doubt. Acting as though your dream is already fulfilled also means speaking and thinking from the end. Instead of saying, "I hope to be," you say, "I am." Instead of thinking, "One day I'll have," you think, "It's unfolding now." This linguistic shift rewires your identity and expectations simultaneously. Your subconscious begins to align your habits and decisions with the new language. The energy of your words broadcasts to the field around you, summoning conditions that match your declarations. Over time, your life organizes itself around your expectation, like iron filings aligning with a magnet. This practice does not eliminate the need for action. It makes action inevitable. When you deeply expect an outcome, you naturally take steps aligned with it. You study what you need to study, you meet who you need to meet, you do what you need to do. Because the action is congruent with your identity and expectation, it feels purposeful rather than forced. You do not procrastinate as much, because you are no longer waiting for permission or certainty. You already possess the inner certainty. This is why expectation is such a powerful antidote to doubt. It replaces the question, will it happen? With the statement, it is happening, and that statement unleashes energy, focus, and movement. Expectation also protects your mental environment. When others doubt you, their doubt cannot penetrate if your expectation is strong enough. You may hear their words, but you do not internalize them. Your inner picture and feeling state are too vivid and consistent. This self-contained certainty allows you to navigate criticism, setbacks, or external negativity without losing momentum. You remain centered in your own knowing, and from this center you act decisively. Over time, even skeptics may begin to align with your vision as they witness its unfolding. Finally, expecting success and acting as though your dream is already fulfilled connects you with a larger rhythm of life. Life itself is always moving toward greater expression, and when you align with that movement, you feel supported rather than isolated. This sense of support is not just emotional, it shows up as real-world coincidences, timely help, and creative ideas. The more you live from this state, the more you realize that your expectation is not merely a private wish, but a partnership with an expansive intelligence eager to express through you. This partnership infuses your action with grace and power, turning even ordinary steps into catalysts for extraordinary outcomes. Persisting with faith rather than struggle is the alchemy that turns the impossible into the inevitable, because persistence rooted in faith is steady, calm, and creative, while persistence rooted in struggle is tense, exhausting, and often self-defeating. Faith is the quiet certainty that life supports you, that the vision you hold is already true in the unseen, and that every step you take is guided and effective. Struggle is the belief that you are alone, that you must force outcomes through sheer willpower, and that you are constantly at risk of losing what you desire. When you persist with faith, you harness a power greater than your individual effort. Your actions become infused with purpose and clarity. Your energy renews itself as you move forward. Obstacles appear smaller, because your focus is on the inevitability of your success rather than the difficulty of the path. This inner stance transforms persistence from grinding endurance into joyful commitment. Faith-based persistence starts with a deep decision to trust the process. Instead of constantly questioning whether something will work out, you decide it already is working out, and continue to act accordingly. This decision cuts off the mental noise that drains your focus and strengthens your resilience. When difficulties arise, you interpret them as temporary adjustments rather than proof of failure. You keep your attention on the higher picture, knowing that each apparent setback may contain hidden guidance or redirection. This mental posture prevents burnout, because your motivation comes from alignment rather than fear. You are drawn forward by your vision, rather than pushed forward by anxiety. When you persist with faith, you approach each task as an opportunity to express your belief in the outcome. Even mundane actions take on sacred significance, because they are steps toward the realization of your intention. This attitude imbues your work with a higher energy that others can feel. People are more willing to cooperate with someone whose persistence feels inspired rather than desperate. Opportunities gravitate to you because your steady faith radiates stability. Resources appear because your confidence signals reliability. Over time, your environment reorganizes itself to support your momentum, making progress faster and smoother. Another aspect of persistence with faith is patience. Patience is not passivity. It is the ability to keep your energy steady while life rearranges circumstances for your benefit. You do what you can do now, and you allow what must unfold in its own time to unfold. This combination of active engagement and relaxed allowing creates a flow state in which synchronicities guide your path. Because you are not grasping or forcing, your intuition remains clear. You notice subtle cues, seize opportunities at the right moment, and avoid wasting energy on false starts. This timing can only arise from faith, because faith keeps you calm enough to listen and receptive enough to act at the opportune moment. Persistence rooted in faith also changes your inner dialogue. You no longer speak in terms of trying, but in terms of doing. You no longer rehearse failure scenarios but affirm success scenarios. This shift in language reinforces your subconscious programming and strengthens your resilience. When challenges appear, you say to yourself, "This too is part of my progress," rather than, "This means it's not working." This interpretation keeps your motivation intact and your creativity alive. Even when you feel momentary doubt, you treat it as a passing cloud rather than a permanent forecast. An important key to persisting with faith is maintaining your practices that build inner alignment. Meditation, prayer, affirmations, visualization, or simply sitting quietly in trust. All these anchor you in the feeling of certainty. These practices are like plugging your device into a power source each day. They replenish your emotional reserves so that your persistence remains light and steady rather than heavy and forced. Without such replenishment, persistence can degrade into struggle. With replenishment, persistence becomes effortless endurance fueled by inspiration. Persisting with faith also means adapting without losing your purpose. Because your focus is on the ultimate outcome rather than the temporary form, you are willing to adjust methods, timing, or strategy as needed. You are not rigidly attached to one path, because you trust that the essence of your goal is secure. This flexibility makes you more resilient and inventive. You pivot when necessary but never abandon the vision. This adaptability combined with steadiness is a hallmark of those who achieve great things. They are not stopped by setbacks because they do not define their identity by a single plan. Their identity is rooted in the outcome, and thus any path that leads there is acceptable. Your persistence with faith also acts as a signal to your subconscious mind, proving that you mean what you say. Many people speak of desires but quit at the first obstacle, sending a mixed message to their subconscious. When you continue steadily despite temporary appearances, you send a message of seriousness. Your subconscious then mobilizes its full resources, including intuition, creativity, and heightened perception, to support your effort. Over time, this inner alignment produces outer results, reinforcing your faith and making your persistence even more unshakable. Persisting with faith generates an emotional atmosphere of calm certainty around you. Others feel it. They see that you are not swayed by gossip, doubt, or criticism. This aura of steadiness attracts allies and opportunities because it signals reliability. People trust those who stand firm without aggression, who move forward without panic. Your calm persistence becomes a magnet for support. Even opponents or skeptics may eventually soften, because your unwavering commitment shows them you are serious and consistent. One of the most powerful aspects of faith-based persistence is the way it reshapes time in your perception. When you struggle, time feels like an enemy. Each day a reminder of what has not yet happened. When you persist with faith, time becomes an ally, each day a friend bringing you closer to your fulfillment. This shift reduces anxiety and increases enjoyment. You no longer postpone happiness until after success, you experience happiness as part of the process. This positive emotional state accelerates progress because your energy is not being siphoned off by stress or impatience. Faith also keeps your imagination open, which is crucial for persistence. When you are trapped in struggle, your focus narrows and you miss creative solutions. When you persist with faith, your mind remains expansive, seeing possibilities where others see dead ends. This openness leads to breakthroughs, sometimes in unexpected ways. A problem that seemed unsolvable may reveal an elegant solution, because you stayed present and receptive rather than frustrated and resistant. This is how faith transforms obstacles into stepping stones. Persistence with faith also creates a self-reinforcing identity. Each time you move forward calmly despite uncertainty, you tell yourself, "I am someone who follows through. I am someone who trusts life. I am someone who completes what I begin." This identity strengthens your self-concept and makes future persistence easier. You develop an internal track record of reliability with yourself, which builds self-respect. Self-respect in turn fuels confidence, and confidence fuels inspired action. This virtuous cycle makes you increasingly unstoppable. Another dimension of persisting with faith is the cultivation of gratitude. Gratitude shifts your focus from what is missing to what is present. It acknowledges progress already made and blessings already received. This mindset nourishes your faith, because it gives you evidence of support. The more you notice how life is already working in your favor, the easier it is to continue steadily. Gratitude also raises your emotional frequency, making you a match for more positive outcomes. In this elevated state, persistence feels joyful rather than dutiful. You can also strengthen your faith-based persistence by remembering past experiences where persistence paid off. Reflect on times when you stayed the course and eventually succeeded. Let those memories anchor you in the knowledge that perseverance works. This backward glance is not nostalgia, but a way to remind your nervous system of its own capacity. Each recollection becomes a brick in the foundation of your current persistence. With this foundation, doubt has less power to shake you. Persisting with faith does not mean ignoring challenges or avoiding effort. It means applying effort in a state of trust. You still plan, act, and adjust, but you do so without the tension of desperation. This difference in inner state changes your outward results. People sense the difference between someone working with confidence and someone working with fear. Opportunities flow to the former more easily, because cooperation, creativity, and synchronicity thrive in an atmosphere of trust. Ultimately, persisting with faith means embodying the conviction that what you seek is already seeking you. This conviction allows you to take one step after another even when the path is unclear. It gives you the strength to continue when others quit, the calm to adapt when plans shift, and the joy to savor the journey as much as the destination. This quiet, steady persistence is the hidden force behind what appears to others as sudden success. They see the breakthrough, but not the steady faith that built the conditions for it. You know that your steady faith was the bridge, and that is why your actions gained unstoppable momentum.